Hey guys, what's up? Scottish Dick here, once again. Right, we are now 2 weeks away from since SEGA Fest ended, and I'm not gonna lie, throughout, since then till now, I've been on, still a big SEGA high, you know? Well, I kind of always am, but I've been wanting to do, all these videos. I'm thinking of topics, I could do one on this, and at the end of the day, I was like, oh, I can't be arsed doing all that, but I don't know. It's Sunday, and I suddenly felt like a pang of energy, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's do this topic. So, if you can't read the fucking title of the video, this is my top 5 franchises that SEGA needs to revive. The most important franchises that SEGA needs to revive, in my opinion. Because, you know, SEGA, they, said that they said a good few years ago that they were gonna, revive a whole bunch of old IPs and stuff, and in my opinion, they've done a pretty good job with that. You know, House of the Dead came back, Streets of Rage has come back, now we're getting Sakura Wars. And there's other, games as well, Space Channel 5, Panzer Dragoon's getting, remakes, Wonder Boy technically came back, Shenmue, if you want to count that, you shouldn't really, because it was obviously off the heels of a successful Kickstarter, but yeah, that came back as well, I guess. But there's still some more. There's still more that could come back, isn't there? Because that's the thing about SEGA. They have so many IPs in their back pocket that even though they've done they can't bring back everything. And even though what I think they've brought back is pretty good, you're still gonna have people saying, "Oh, why don't they bring back this game? Why don't they bring back this game?" So these, in my opinion, are the games that, not necessarily that I want personally, you know, with all my heart to come back. These are more games that I think it would be the smartest move on SEGA's part to bring back. This is just purely on my, you know, looking at the fan base, look at the reactions to certain things, the importance of these franchises, how much hype I think they would build up, and how well they would do if they actually did come out. Okay, so there's a lot of my opinion in this, but I feel like the franchises I've picked are important enough. Okay, I'll let you guys be the judge. And before I get to number 5, I actually do want to point out that if SEGA was to come up to me right now, put a gun to my head and be like, "Donald, what franchises do you want back? Tell us now," and I didn't care about how well they would sell, who else would give a shit. To me, it would be Skies and Knights. Okay, Knights, no fucking explanation needed from me here. I absolutely adore the franchise, and it's 2 games. Yes, even this one, I really like it. But I think Knights is definitely more, I don't know, I don't think he's very hot-selling material, which really breaks my heart to say that, even though he's clearly iconic, and a lot of people associate him with a good age of SEGA games. And as for Skies of Arcadia, yeah, obviously, again, I would totally say yes to a sequel, but I think maybe a HD remake of this one would be more suitable, a more suitable thing for SEGA to do at this point. But yeah, I just wanted to get those 2 out of the way. So, let's begin with number 5. Now, when you think of SEGA franchises that came out after they went third party, there's not it's obviously not as big a catalogue to pull from than compared to their IPs that they did when they were making consoles. Now obviously some IPs have really persevered, like Valkyria Chronicles, Yakuza, you know, that were made after they went third party. But there's one other one that I think really does have a big reach and a lot of people remember very fondly. That's Super Monkey Ball. Super Monkey Ball, the tragic thing about it though is that they came out with 2 really excellent games for the GameCube. Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2, absolutely incredible games, and then everything that came after that was very middling, and depending on who you ask, some games were really good, some games were not so good. Personally, I really liked Banana Blitz for the Wii, but then they just started to make a bunch of launch titles. Monkey Ball became the sort of go-to franchise for launch titles. There was an early launch title for the Vita, for the 3DS, some games also went to mobile. And yeah, I do think that Monkey Ball has that reach for sure. They just need to make a game that isn't just a lazy sort of cash-in. You need a real Super Monkey Ball 3, you know, and do something sort of really drastic with the formula. Maybe make a game that's like full on levels now instead of these like little bursts of things that you can go through. I don't know, but if they put in the effort for it, I think Super Monkey Ball game would do really well. Again, it needs to be a proper one though, so that's my number 5 right there. Now, one developer at Sega that I am annoyed that we're not seeing enough from is AM2. The guys behind like, you know, arcade classics like Outrun and Space Harrier and of course Shenmue, you know? They do stuff, okay? You look at the update Border Break, they are now the ones responsible for developing the Hatsune Miku games. But I'm pretty sure there's franchises that we want to see from them that they're not working on, and I already mentioned one, but that's Outrun, okay? Now, to be fair, you could put like any sort of like Sega racing game here, like Sega Rally or Daytona, but those two have already actually sort of came back. You know, we did get Daytona 3 in arcades only, and Sega Rally had like we had Sega Rally Revo for the last generation, you know? But, in my opinion, I think that Outrun is the furthest reaching of those Sega games. You know, I think people really associate it with Sega the most. And an Outrun 3 would just, like, have the biggest impact, you know? Like, this is Outrun 2006, which is kind of like an updated version of Outrun 2. And it's fucking phenomenal, you know? It goes to show that you can absolutely do, like, a sort of proper sequel to what is essentially just an arcade classic. That is the original Outrun, you know? So, yeah. Outrun 3, I think that would be the smartest decision. Again, against games like Daytona and Sega Rally. Yeah. That's my number 4 choice. Okay, now, number 3. This one is like... I've been thinking about this for a while, and the more I think about it, it's like, you know what, why hasn't Sega brought this back yet? It would just be so much easy nostalgia, and you do something in the same vein as like Streets of Rage, where it legitimately is just like a retro revival, you know, not like a big AAA game, but I still feel like it would do so well, and that is Alex Kidd. You know, like, that's pretty much the joke at this point, that Alex Kidd was obviously the mascot of Sega for years, got replaced by Sonic, and now we just remember him as that, as Sega's old mascot. Now, this game right here, Alex Kidd Miracle World, recently got, like, released for the Switch, for the Sega Ages line, and it was a really good port, and I actually, like, this is super nerdy, but every time I'm on, like, the eShop or any sort of, like, store that shows this, I always like look at what's the top selling and stuff, and for like the first 2 weeks, Alex Kidd was like consistently in the top 20 when I was looking at it. And I don't know, that kind of tells me, it's like, okay, well, he was obviously the mascot for the Master System, and he must have like a big enough following that, you know, people who had a Sega Master System know who he is. So yeah, a sort of like retro revival of Alex Kidd, I can't help but think that would be like, would generate a lot of like hype, and folk would really be into it, you know? Again, just like a small game, not like a big 3D adventure, just a retro revival, throw in some rock, paper, scissors, and yeah, it's like, feels like, the more I think about it, the more it's like, that would be so easy to do, wouldn't it? But yeah, Alex Kidd, number 3, needs to come back, Right, now, at the beginning of the video, I showed off Skies of Arcadia and Knights in terms of like franchises that I oh so greatly wanted to return, you know, and to be fair, there was a third franchise that I wanted to return so badly, but I think that this one is actually more justified in generating enough hype in terms of what people want from it. So my number 2 is Jet Set Radio. Why we don't even have like a HD version of Jet Set Radio Future yet is pretty baffling to me. There must be some sort of like thing with the musical rights for that one, as there was this one when Sega originally tried to re-release it. But yeah, I know that this will be a good choice to like bring back, because it was number 1 on a fan poll that Sega did on what Sega Ages games they wanted to come back. Okay, number 1. This was number 1 for Sega Ages. Now, whether or not like they will make it a Sega Ages game for the Switch, or they'll like make a brand new game, is yet to be seen. But Jet Set Radio is definitely a massive like cult hit, you know? I do feel like it's not niche anymore, I feel. You know, a lot of Dreamcast games, even Skies of Arcadia, I would still say are fairly niche and only really would generate a lot of like buzz for hardcore Sega fans. But Jet Set Radio, I feel like enough people know what it is and know that it was like amazing for what it was at the time, that a proper Jet Set Radio 3 would, like, yeah, it would do really well. And again, it was #1 in the poll, so you should make this, Sega. I know that would make me super, super happy. So yeah, that's my #2. And my #1, it's fairly obvious. At least I think it's fairly obvious. It's the franchise that you can make the argument that it's technically not dead yet, but at the same time, a new installment is really long overdue. And yeah, it's Virtua Fighter. I'm not even like the biggest Virtua Fighter guy. I've always said that I want to like get into it because it's AM2. Obviously, the fighting system in the Virtua Fighter games mirrors that of what you got in Shenmue, and yeah, I feel like if I gave it my all, I could just like sit down, learn Virtua Fighter, and really get into it. And but at the same time, you know, what would really help that for me personally is a new game. And again, it's Virtua Fighter. That's one of the big granddaddies of like fighting games in general. You know, a new entry would definitely sell well, would definitely like do really... I hate using the word hype. I've used it several times, but for some reason I hate using the word hype, especially when it comes to fighting games. Right? The fighting game community overuses that word a lot, but it does. But that's what it would do. It would generate a lot of hype. Virtua Fighter 6. It seems like really long overdue, you know? Don't you think so? I don't know. And obviously it would have a lot of competition, you know, because Tekken 7, Dead or Alive 6, Soul Calibur 6, they're all out right now. I think the only one that's really kicking arse though is Tekken 7. I know Dead or Alive 6 kinda flopped-ish there. $100 for a season pass, no thank you. So yeah, Virtua Fighter 6. Even though it wouldn't be like a big personal thing for me, I would definitely like to try and get into it. But I just look at the situation, I'm like, that is the franchise that you need to bring back, Sega. In my opinion. So that's what I'm going for. Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter 6 Sega, make it happen. Or even just like a collection. Like maybe Virtua Fighter 1 to 5, release it on PS4, Steam, add online play. I don't know, something like that. Just release something with Virtua Fighter on it. You know, what more can I say? Right, so that's that, guys, and I'm fairly confident that if Sega in the next, whenever they decide to bring back an old IP, I'm fairly confident that it's going to be one of those 5. Okay, I'll be very surprised if it's not, but then again, if it turns out to be Skies or Nights, I'll take it. So, yeah. That's that, guys. Do you agree with what I said? Do you think there's a more important franchise? I'm very interested to hear. Like, did I miss something out? Was there something... Again, I'm talking about sort of importance here, like, what really would, like, make people happy that this is coming back, you know? So, yeah. Let me know. See you after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.